Guys, so today I'm going to be talking about education and evaluations for the foster care provider. I have a brief PowerPoint that's going to touch on some key points, and I'm going to go back then and reiterate those points and kind of go more in depth with them. Also within this PowerPoint is a quick video that we're going to watch on YouTube. It takes just a couple of minutes. Really pay attention, though, to what the video says. It has a lot of, I think, important information that really kind of touches a person. So we'll start with the PowerPoint. Okay, so education and evaluation for foster care providers. Child abuse. Child abuse comes in many shapes and forms. Never are two abuse cases exactly the same. Abuse to a child can be either physical, mental, or sexual. The problem. Children that are taken out of harsh conditions still have a chance to face the same conditions and or worse within a foster care system. Surely we can find a way to combat this problem. Here's a little bit of evidence, some things that support the idea that there's abuse within the foster care system. The first article pertains to certain states and the type of maltreatment we see within foster homes specifically. The second article, we see reports of abuse that are tossed to the side within the system, as well as the statistical data for abuse occurring in foster homes. So it really pinpoints each state and kind of what we see in those states. And then the last article shows what the current qualifications are to become a foster parent in the United States, which we'll come back to touch on. Here's the video we're going to watch real quick. Okay. So, plan. What is our plan for this? Our plan is aptitude testing, a possible psychology appointment, unannounced home visits, possible camera monitoring, which we'll touch more on this, how to implement. We can start groups, committees, we can recycle things, we can require all participants to register within a system, a psych eval by a doctor. So let's go ahead and touch base just a little bit more on these. Okay, so our problem. We're kind of going to go back through the PowerPoint slides, and I'm going to reiterate a little bit more. So when we talk about children being taken out of these harsh conditions, we're obviously talking about the abuse cases that they were currently in. And now we're seeing, though, that in some foster homes, the abuse is continuing, or now the abuse is actually worse than what they were in to begin with. So say they were taken away from their mother because their mother wasn't able to provide the nourishment this child needed, and now in this foster home that they're facing sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, things that they wouldn't have ever even dealt with at home. And we obviously need the foster care system because that's our only plan for these children who are being seriously abused. So we do need them, but we need to come up with a way to combat this problem. Okay, so going to our evidence slide, where our last piece of evidence talks about current qualifications within the United States. Most states are the same, and it's going to be that you're 21 years old, you have financial income, a stable income, you have one bedroom for that child with a bed, and you do a background check. And that's it. They may do one home visit. Some states require a home visit. Some states don't. They may ask you to drug test. They may not. But that's it. Doesn't it seem a little bit? We should have some more. We should have higher standards for somebody that we want to help an emotionally traumatized, physically, whatever type of trauma this child went through. Don't we want somebody who's a little bit more qualified to help take care of them? Now, I'm not talking somebody with a PhD, just somebody who has been through some more testing to see that they are mentally okay themselves. So let's go to our next one, our plan. So here are some things that we can implement. Aptitude testing is something that most jobs are actually starting to do, so it has kind of a little bit of a psychological evaluation within itself. It's going to measure kind of your mentality about things, your reaction to certain questions, which I feel like is appropriate because the way you react to things, it could easily be portrayed as how you're going to react with a child, because it could be somewhat of the same circumstances. So these aptitude testings, you can actually find a few of them free online. I know some of them cost a little bit of money. Recently, my husband took one, and the company paid, I think, like $5 for this aptitude testing to be done. Wasn't hard. It took him like 4 hours. It was proctored via webcam, so it's not like you can bounce around, try to Google questions, anything like that. So I feel like an aptitude test is actually a pretty good idea when we think about kind of the results it can give us. Another idea is a psychology appointment. So maybe per county or for a certain amount of counties, or it could even be by state. However, that could be a little bit more difficult if you just had one psychiatrist or psychologist per state. But I feel like it would be a really good idea to have these individuals who are wanting to be foster parents sit down with a psychologist. They are evaluated by a psychologist. It could be a psychiatrist too, because they're up to it. Somebody who can dig a little bit deeper into this person, kind of see if they're withholding information. I mean, this is what they're trained to do, and kind of come back and tell a committee of some sort kind of how they feel this person's going to be. sometimes they could decide, I just don't think this person's mentally stable. I think this person probably has abuse background themselves, anything along those lines. And it's a good idea to know this, because we can stop abuse before it happens by stopping certain people from becoming foster care providers. Unannounced home visits is another one we see on the slide. I know that they talk about within the foster system they're supposed to come by, but being in the medical field, we've had to call CPS a few times. I work in the intensive care unit. CPS actually tells them we're going to do a home visit, and it's going to be in about 2 to 3 days, or they tell them however long. And I don't feel like that's adequate. I know this is pertaining to children's parents, but I feel like it should be for the child's parents and or a foster care provider. These home visits should not be announced. They should not have time to clean their house. They should not have time to go and lock the kid out of the closet, or feed them for 2 or 3 days in a row before you show up. They shouldn't have time to prepare. Home visits should be completely unannounced. You should have no idea. They should have no idea anyways that you're even going to come, because I feel like that defeats the purpose. How are you supposed to know that they're adequately taking care of this child if they know you're coming? They have time to prepare what to say. They have time to tell the child what to say and what not to say. They have time to feed the child, to get the child in clean clothes, all sorts of things. Kind of another idea that could get a little pricey is camera monitoring. I know a lot of people in our community that are mothers like to recycle baby monitors, so we give them to the next one and the next one. So an idea would be, instead of telling people, hey, throw away your baby monitors, donate them to the state. And that's something that could be required, is some monitoring of the child and the foster care provider in the home. Now, of course, the issue that we could see with this is that the foster care provider, may not be totally truthful if they know that the camera is running. But, it's something that could be taken into consideration. How to implement these ideas, I definitely think there needs to be a group whose primary role is to ensure foster care is safe. The foster home this child's being placed in is a safe place for this kid. With that being said, though, it can be hard to implement this, because we already have groups whose job is kind of to do this, but they're not doing it. In a lot of our readings, a lot of articles, we see that a lot of people within the system, they just kind of, shrug things off to the side. Sometimes people get a little bit lazy. I know their lives are crazy. Their schedules are crazy, especially with all the kids they have to take care of. So I feel like it's important to select a committee or a group, just some type of people that are responsible to raise funds for possible more testing, more background checks, psychological testing, aptitude testing, whatever it be, to ensure that these children are safe within these homes, that they're not just saying, yeah, because they're scared. I think we need to require all participants to register within the system for that aptitude test, see how they react in different situations. The psychological evaluation, I feel like, is a great idea also. Again, that could get pricey along with the aptitude testing and the camera monitoring. But all of them are great ideas to help better our system, because obviously our system right now is flawed. And it takes a few dollars to potentially save some child's life, and to me that is ultimately, it's worth it. In the end, it's worth it. So I guess kind of the question now would be, how far are you willing to go to ensure that our future generations are well taken care of? How far are you willing to go to ensure that these future generations are loved and they have a warm bed and they're not going to have such mental damage? I know we were looking on some of the foster sites the other day, the foster to adopt, and out of probably the 80 children on there were maybe 2 or 3 that did not have mental retardation of some sort, or some type of very strong, severe mental impact. And it kind of makes you wonder, well, did these children, did they receive them in their first home? Did they receive this throughout foster homes? It's kind of it's definitely an emotional topic, but we definitely need to look at our system. Our system has flaws, and we definitely need to revamp them.